ions and molecules. Okay, so we can see there we got what is an atom is the first thing you have to know. Okay, an atom basically is the smallest basic unit of matter. Okay, we said that in section 2.1. Okay, what are energy levels then? Okay, energy levels are regions around a nucleus. Okay, around the nucleus in which electrons are located. Okay, we can see that there on the diagram. Okay, so that's basically what energy levels are. So the second thing we're going to talk is what is an outermost energy level. Okay, that is where the electrons determine how atoms are formed. Okay, or that's where atoms or electrons determine where atoms are formed. Okay, so we got here element one is hydrogen and element two is oxygen. Okay, so hydrogen has one electron, and you can see that oxygen has 8 electrons. Okay, lo ve ahí, ¿verdad? Okay, so the first answer here is electron, ¿verdad? We see an electron around the first energy level of hydrogen. Okay, in the second thing we see the nucleus, ¿verdad? The middle part of that atom is what we call the nucleus. Está conmigo, ¿verdad? That's the nucleus. Okay, the nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons. Any questions about this? Okay, so that's basically what we call an atom. Okay, it got energy levels and it got the outermost energy levels. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to talk is what is a compound, or review what is a compound. Can someone tell me what is a compound? If you remember, dime. Sí. Exacto. Thank you, Adriana. That's very good. Okay. So a compound is made of atoms of two or more elements bonded together, like Adriana said. Okay. Any questions about this stuff that I review right now? Estamos. So that's the first part of this lesson. Okay. So the next thing that we talk is what is an ionic bond. Okay. An ionic bond is formed between two oppositely ¿verdad? It's formed between two oppositely charged ions due to electrical attraction. Okay, so it got oppositely charged, so it's got one positive charge and one negative charge, so that attract each other, so they make an ionic bond. We also say that in ionic bonds, electrons are shared or given or donate. ¿Quién se acuerda de eso? In ionic bonds, what happens? The electrons are shared or given, like donate. ¿Cuál es la diferencia entonces de ionic bond and covalent bond? Remember that. Exacto, thank you, Shaddai. Excellent. Ionic bond, we give electrons, ¿verdad? We donate electrons. Okay. In covalent bonds, we share electrons. That's the biggest difference. Okay. So what is an ion then? Okay. An ion is an atom that loses or gain electrons. Okay. That lose one electron or gain one electron. So we got two types of ions. Okay. Positive ions. That means if it's a positive ion, it's formed when an atom loses electrons. That makes sense because an electron has negative charge. So if we form a positive ion, that means we lose an electron. Okay, so that means we got a positive charge. That's what we call them, positive ions. So negative ion is the opposite. We gain an electron. So that makes us a negative ion. Okay, any questions about ions and ionic bonds? Okay, that's basically what we say or what we saw in this part of the lesson. Okay, preguntas hasta aquí estamos. Okay, so the last thing that we talked in this lesson 2.1, atoms, ions, and molecules, was about covalent bonds, okay, and molecules. Okay, so a covalent bond is formed when atoms share one or more pairs of electrons. So that's the biggest difference, students, of a covalent bond and an anionic bond. Sorry, ionic bonds we donate electrons or we give electrons. In covalent bonds we share one or more pairs of electrons. Okay, that's the biggest difference between these two bonds, but both of them are very important. Okay, and we're gonna see more about covalent bonds in the other lessons that we saw in class. Okay, so who can tell me what is a molecule then? It's very similar to what is a compound, but there is a difference. Who can tell me what is a molecule or what are molecules? The last thing that we talked in this lesson. Alguien que me diga, que no haya participado, sin miedo. No escuché. Sé que Alondra estaba hablando, pero no la puedo escuchar, no la logro escuchar, no sé qué pasa. Nada, no la escucho, ¿verdad? Pero molecules basically is atom bonded together by covalent bonds. So that's where what a molecule is, okay? So it's a bond or molecule, ¿verdad? It's an atom bonded together by covalent bonds. That is not necessarily a compound, okay? So we got here our first lesson. Any questions about lesson 2.1 or section 1 of chapter 2? ¿Estamos? Okay, so now I'm going to discuss the section quiz of this section 2.1 or lesson 2.1. Okay. No lo escucho, no sé por qué. Okay, haga las preguntas en el chat, cualquier cosa. Okay, you can make the questions in the chat. Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, no sé por qué no lo escucho realmente, pero pues. Okay, so now we're gonna discuss the section quiz of atoms, ion, molecules. Okay, let's see it quick. Okay, so the first one says which phrase best describe atoms. So the answer is B. Okay, that's the definition of atoms. It's the smallest basic units of matter. Okay. Second one is which of the following cannot be broken down by ordinary chemical means. Okay. The answer there is an element. Okay. If we talk about an element, it cannot be broken down. For example, we got hydrogen. Hydrogen is an element that cannot be broken down by ordinary chemical means. Okay. So that's the second multiple choice. Okay. Third one is what is a compound. Okay. We saw that like minutes ago. What is a compound is letter B, atoms of different elements bonded together in certain ratios or ratios. Okay. Number 4, an ion is formed when an atom gains or loses electrons. Okay. So if an atom gains electrons, what type of ion do we have? A negative ion. And if an ion loses electrons, then we got a positive ion. Okay. And the last one is atoms connected by covalent bonds share pairs of electrons. Okay. Any questions about this? This was your section 2.1 quiz, okay, that we have last week. Okay. ¿Alguna pregunta hasta aquí? ¿Estamos? Okay. I hope you're hearing me clear. Okay. So if there is no question, you can make it on the chat of section 2.1. Well, let's go to section 2.2. Okay. Okay, so let's discuss section 2.2, daily work. Okay. So section 2.2 or lesson 2.2 was properties of water. So we got to start defining what is a polar molecule. Okay. a polar molecule is a molecule that has regions with slightly electrical charge due to uneven. Okay, so that's basically what we talk about a polar molecule. It's a molecule that has regions with slightly electrical charges. Okay, so nonpolar molecules is gonna be the opposite. Okay, molecules with our charged regions due to equal pool of electrons. So this is the difference. Polar molecule has slightly charged regions because it's uneven, ¿verdad? No está balanceada ¿verdad? Esas regiones. But we see on nonpolar molecules that it has no slightly charged region because it's balanced, okay, or it's even. So that's the difference, ¿verdad? It's equal. In nonpolar molecules, we look at a slightly charged regions because they are equal, okay? They are balanced, okay? So that's very important that we know it, okay? So we got an atom, okay? An atom and a charge, okay? So the first atom we got there is an oxygen, okay? That it has a slightly negative charge, okay? The second atom that we have is the hydrogen, okay? The hydrogen, we got two hydrogens on the water molecule, okay? We got here a water molecule. Let me draw it so you can see it. Okay, this is a H2o molecule, okay? H2o molecule, okay? That has one oxygen. This is the oxygen, and these are the two hydrogens, okay? So we see there that the atom we have here is the oxygen. It has a slightly negative charge, slightly negative charge, slightly negative. Okay, and we got here the hydrogens that has a slightly positive charge. Okay, so that's very important that we see it. Okay, slightly positive charge. Okay, okay, so that's what basically we can say. Okay, any questions about this? So hydrogen bonds, the first thing here is the hydrogen bonds. Okay, we got there that these water molecules are being uh, slightly connected or connected. You see that they are connected by hydrogen bonds. Okay, so they are connected by hydrogen bonds. Okay, so they are sharing pairs of electrons. Okay, they are sharing pairs of electrons. Okay? They are not donating, they are sharing pairs of electrons. Okay? So that explanation is formed by the attractions between slightly positive hydrogen and slightly negative oxygen. Okay? So you see it there. The hydrogen is positive charge, so it's being attracted by the negative region of the oxygen. Okay, you can see it in all of them. This is positive charge, and this is negative. So this is how the hydrogen bond is being formed. Okay, do you see it? So the hydrogen is interacting or connecting with the oxygen, and they are forming a hydrogen bond by sharing a pair of electrons. Okay, so next thing we can talk is what are the properties of water related to hydrogen bonds. Okay, so there are three main properties. The first one is high specific heat. Okay? When we talk about high specific heat, students, we are talking about a large amount of energy related to produce an increase in temperature. So that's the first property of water, high specific heat. Okay, that's the first property. The second property that we talked in class was cohesion. Okay, so that's where water molecules stick to each other. Okay, that's the second property, cohesion. That is when water molecules stick to each other. Okay, the third property that we talked in class was adhesion. Okay, so that is where water molecules stick to other substance. Okay, so when we have cohesion, it's where water molecules stick to each other. Okay, water molecules stick to each other. So when we see adhesion, is when water molecule is interacting with other substance. Okay, or is a stick to other substance. Okay. So any questions about this? ¿Estamos? Alguien escriba en el chat si se está escuchando bien. Are we clear? Because I'm not seeing you, neither hearing you. So I hope you are there. Ok, perfecto. Ok, no se duerman. No sé por qué no se escucha. Alguien trata de hablar. No puedo creer lo que no se escucha. Pues pueden opinar entonces. ¿Sabes? Es que como no los veo ni los escucho. Sí, se escucha. Estoy escuchando, por lo menos a Camila y a Elian lo escuché. Okay. Perfecto. Well, let's continue. Okay. Estamos casi terminando esta lección. Esta parte de la. Okay. So the last thing that we saw in this part was what is a solution. Can someone tell me what is a solution? Rapidito. What is a solution? Dime, Adriana. Ahora lo escucho. No sé, ahorita no lo he escuchado. Exacto. Okay, it's a homogeneous mixture. Okay, es una mezcla homogénea. Okay, thank you, Adriana. Okay, so we also talk about solvents. Okay, solvent is the substance present in greatest concentration. Okay, the solvent is what dissolves the solutes. Okay, or other substance. Okay, so we also say in class that the universal solvent is, who can tell me? What is the universal solvent in life or in Earth? Water. Okay, so that's what we're talking about, the property of water. Thank you, Grecia. Okay, we also talk about solutes. Okay, that is a substance present in lower concentration that is dissolved in solvents. Okay, so we can say that solvents are present in greater concentration than solutes, and solvent is what dissolves the solutes. Okay, and the universal solvent is water. Okay, we also talked, the last part of this lesson was about pH, okay, or what is acids, neutral, or bases, okay? So let's start talking about acids, okay? Acids are release or release hydrogen ions in solution, so it got a high hydrogen concentration. So we see here that it has a low pH, okay? El pH de este caso, ¿verdad? Is between 1 and 6, okay? So it got a high, okay? It released a high concentration of hydrogen ions, okay? It released a high concentration of hydrogen, okay? Okay. We also saw that neutral, it has a pH, ¿verdad? Tiene un pH de 7, ¿verdad? Ese es el pH neutral, ¿ok? Lo dice la palabra, es neutral, ¿ok? So, it's neither, ¿verdad? En este caso, si decimos que es neutral, ¿es ácido o base? ¿Quién me dice? O ninguna de las dos. Okay, it's neither, okay? It's neither acid, neither basic, okay? So, who can tell me about the last thing in this lesson? What is a basis and what is the pH of bases? O las bases. Exacto. So it's gonna be 8 to 14. And what is the basis basically, Adriana? Or other? Okay, exacto. So it's, in this case, we remove hydrogen ions. Okay, we remove. In the first, in acids, we release high concentration. So here we remove hydrogen ions from solution. Okay, hydrogen ions from solution. Okay, so ¿alguna duda, pregunta de esta lección? Estamos, mi gente. So now we're gonna see the review. So we're gonna answer the review. Okay. ¿Estamos claros entonces con esta lección 2.2? Okay. Perfecto, vamos a continuar. So now we're gonna discuss the quiz. Okay, the quiz of properties of water. Okay. So you're gonna help me in this quiz. Okay? Who can read number 1 very quick, please? Dale, Elian. Perfecto. Ok. ¿Cuál es la respuesta entonces, Elian? Okay, exacto. Because we saw that, ¿verdad? The oxygen reacts, or the oxygen is attracted by the hydrogen, negative and positive, and they combine. Okay, so oppositely charged. Thank you, Elian. So it's letter C. Okay, who can read number 2 very quick? Que no haya participado. Vamos. Can someone read it? Ivaniel, ¿y puede leerla? ¿Quién dijo yo? Okay, gracias. Go ahead. Exacto, sí. Because cohesion is between water molecules, okay? So when water is a stick or is attracted by other substance, it's called adhesion. Thank you, Grecia. Okay. So I'm gonna read number 3. Why is water necessary to your body? Okay. So there can be 2 answers. Okay. Why is water necessary to your body? It can be B. It dissolves and transports substance, and it also can be C. Okay. It doesn't matter what you choose on the quiz, B or C. I put it like correct. Okay. And it also dissolves nonpolar fats and oils. Okay. So let's see number 4. Which of the following phrases best describe a solvent? In that case, well, the answer is C, because it's present in greater concentration than solute. We saw that in the discussion of the daily work, because the solvent is present in greater concentration, so it can dissolve the solute. Okay? So the solvent, students, is always going to be present in greater concentration than solute. Okay, we're going to have more of the solvent, so it can dissolve the solutes, ¿verdad? Sea cualquier soluto. Okay? And number 5, you can read it. Que no haya participado. Vamos, mi gente. Number 5. Alguien que no haya participado. No puede ser, no hay más. ¿Todo el mundo se fue entonces? Vamos. Ay, Cristo. Elian, dale, dale. Sí. Number 5. La D, exacto. It's very acidic. Okay. Estamos. So, we saw that in the lesson, okay? A solution with a high concentration of hydrogen ions is very acidic. Si ahí hubiera dicho a solution with low concentration of hydrogen ions, sería entonces is very basic. Okay. Estamos. Pregunta hasta aquí. From lesson 2.2, properties of water. Estamos. So if there is no question, we can continue with section 2.3. Okay. Ya nos faltan más que 3 secciones, estamos terminando. O podemos dejar la última para el martes. Okay. So the third section is section 2.3, or section 3, carbon-based molecules. Okay. So in this section, we start talking about monomer. Okay. A monomer is a small molecule that is a single unit in a much larger molecule. Okay, so when we talk about monomers, we're talking about the small molecule, or the subunit of larger molecule. Okay, so that's basically what a monomer is. It's a small molecule that is a single unit. ¿Verdad? Mono means single or one, so that helps us remember what is a monomer. Okay, so when we're talking about a polymer, it's a large molecule. It also can be called a macromolecule that is formed from many monomers bonded together. Okay, so when we talk about polymer, we talk about monomers bonded together, so it forms a large molecule called a polymer. Okay, so poly means more than 3 or 4, so that means that many monomers are bonded together. Okay, okay. So let's start talking with the first type of molecule that we saw in class, it was carbohydrate. Okay, carbohydrate. Can someone tell me the function of carbohydrates? Can someone tell me cuál es la función de los carbohidratos? Dime, Camila. Okay, so thank you. So basically, what it does is it broken down to provide energy to the cells. Okay, an example that we saw in class was the polymer celulosa, ¿verdad? Cellulose, and the monomer is, ¿cuál es el monómero de celulosa? Glucosa, ¿verdad? Glucose. Okay, lo vimos también en la clase. Okay, so we got there the first type of molecule that we saw in class. Okay, the second type of molecule that we saw in class was the lipid molecule. Okay, so who can tell me what's the function of lipids? It's very similar to the carbo. Podía escribirla, pero no era súper necesario, o sea, no era necesario realmente. Pero sí, también está en el libro, ¿ok? So the function of lipids is very similar to carbohydrates. It's also broken down to provide a source of energy, and in this case, it make up cell membranes. Okay, we're gonna see this in more a clear way on section or chapter 3. Okay, so what molecule do we have there in lipids? What molecule do we have here? ¿Qué molécula tenemos ahí? Ajá, ¿cuál es? Exacto, esa misma. Los fosfolípidos. Eso es un fosfolípido, ¿ok? Y ese fosfolípido, phospholipid, has two parts, ¿ok? Tiene un fosfato, ¿verdad? Un fosfato es la primera parte, ¿ok? En la cabecita, ¿verdad? Si podemos decir, es un fosfato, un grupo, un phosphate group, ¿verdad? Y después la cola, ¿verdad? La cola sería un non-polar fatty acid tails, ¿ok? Esas son las dos partes de ese, ¿verdad? Fosfolípido, ¿ok? ¿Dudas, preguntas? ¿Ok? Eso también está en su libro. ¿Ok? The third type of molecule is, dime. Está bien, pero no está completamente descrito. Pero si tú lo entiendes, que la cabeza es el fosfato, un grupo de fosfato, y entonces la colita, ¿verdad? The tail is a non-polar fatty acid. Es lo mismo, ¿sabes? Tú lo tienes más simple, ¿ok? Pero está bien. ¿Ok? So, phospholipids can also make hormones, ¿ok? También, ¿verdad? Hormonas, ¿ok? So, what is the third type of molecule that we have here? ¿Cuál es la tercera que vimos en clase? ¿Quién me dice rapidito? Las proteínas, exacto. ¿Okay? La función de las proteínas, ¿verdad? Son enzimas en su mayoría. ¿Okay? They can transport oxygen. ¿Okay? Así que son muy importantes las proteínas. And they are responsible for the muscle movement. Okay? So they are very important. Proteins are responsible for the muscle movement. So we need proteins in our body. Okay? That's very important. Okay? El polímero que está ahí is a polypeptide. Okay? Que lo vimos en clase también. Tenemos un polipéptido. Y el monómero, ¿cuál es? What is the monomer? ¿Cuál es el subunit or single unit of polypeptide? Sorry, polypeptide. Esa palabra rara. ¿Cuál es el monómero de un polypeptide? We saw it in class 2. Amino, ¿no se acuerdan? Amino acid, ¿ok? Solamente hay como 4 participando. Los demás, no sé. And the last type of molecule that we talk is nucleic acid. Okay? What types of nucleic acid we have? We have 2 types of nucleic acid. Son muy importantes para las DNA and RNA. Okay, thank you. We're gonna talk about that in future chapters. Okay, so the basic functions or the main functions of DNA and RNA are that they can store genetic information. That's the most important function. And it also can help in the buildings of proteins, okay? Or the creations of proteins, okay? Any doubt about lesson or section 2.3? Estamos, mi gente. Any questions about carbon-based molecules? Okay. So now let's go to discuss the quiz of this lesson that we got, I think, on Wednesday. Okay. Carbon-based molecules quiz. Vamos rapidito a este quiz. Ya estamos casi. Okay. So who can read number 1, please? Someone that hasn't participated, please. Para que el viernes yo la pase bien. Vamos, alguien que no haya leído. Recuerden, los puntos de participación son importantes. Ajá, ¿quién dijo yo? Camila, ok. Exacto, that's the unique property of carbon atoms, okay, bonding properties, okay. Thank you. Okay, so number 2 says, which category of carbon-based molecules includes sugars and starches? Okay, that is carbohydrates, la D, perdón, okay. ¿Verdad? Que incluye las azúcares, okay. La 3 bien fácil, who can read it? Alguien que no haya leído, voy a mandar a alguien a ver si está por ahí. Kiarali, Gerald, lee. Number 3, please. Exacto, thank you, Gerald. Lipids. Okay, we saw that like in class, ¿verdad? Ahí es que estaba la colita, ¿verdad? Del fosfolípido. Y tiene, ¿verdad? The tail is a non-polar fatty acid. Okay, so it's letter C. Okay. Number 4, proteins are composed of which molecules? Kiarali, dime la respuesta o alguien que la sepa. Sí, exacto, lo vimos, ¿verdad? Hace un segundo atrás. Is number 4, the molecule is amino acids. Okay? And number 5, who can read it and answer it, please? Dale, Grecia. Nucleic acid. Nucleic acid, eso mismo, no te preocupes, son palabras extrañas. Yo también me trago, no te preocupes. Okay? So we got there quiz number 3, ¿verdad? Quiz number 8, pero el quiz de la sección 2.3. Any questions hasta aquí? ¿Estamos bien? So we're going to talk about the last section for today, and we leave the last section 2.5 for Tuesday. ¿Estamos de acuerdo con eso? ¿Sí o no? Okay, para no destruir, ¿verdad? Recuerden, hasta hoy son los trabajos diarios, así que pendiente a eso. Okay. Vamos rápido a la última sección que vamos a repasar hoy. Okay. So we got section 2.4 or section 4, chemical reactions. Okay, we're gonna see this right now. Okay, so when we talk about chemical reaction, we got an example there. Okay, so in the first part, voy a escribir para que lo tengan, por si acaso. In the first part, we got the reactants. Okay, these are the substance that's gonna change through the chemical reaction. Okay. Preguntas de eso, ¿ok? Tenemos los reactivos en la parte, ¿verdad? De la izquierda de la reacción, ¿ok? O de reactants. Escribí en español, hermana mía. ¿Verdad? Reactants, ¿ok? The reactants are the substance that change by a chemical reaction. Any questions about reactants? Okay. So in the second part that we see there, we got the direction. Okay, this is the direction of the reaction. This reaction is going from left to right. Okay, so this is the direction. Okay, and number 3, we got the. ¿Quién me dice? What do we got in the products? Thank you. So these are the products. En otras palabras, are the substance formed during a chemical reaction. Okay. Okay, so that's very basic. We got the reactants that undergo a chemical reaction in that direction. Okay, we also can have other directions, but that's the basically direction from left to right. Okay, so the next thing that we can talk is what is the bond energy. ¿Quién me dice? Exacto. It's the amount of energy needed to break a bond. Okay, or the amount of energy released when a bond is formed. Okay, so tenga eso claro. Bond energy is the energy needed for a bond to be broken, okay? Or the amount of energy released when a bond is formed, okay? So bond energy is the amount of energy released or needed to break a bond or is released when a bond is formed, okay? No sé si me entendieron, ¿verdad? That is what bond energy is, okay? So the next term that we have is chemical equilibrium, okay? That is that a reaction can be reversible, okay? That can occur in both directions, okay? We can see it like this, okay? A reaction that can occur in both reactions, okay? That will make an equilibrium between the reactants and the products, okay? Estamos. So depending on the reactants and product concentration, when reactants and products are interacting, okay? That what happens when we say that a reaction can be reversible, okay? Or chemical equilibrium. Sí, también, okay? En esas otras palabras, es lo mismo que decir are formed at the same rate, okay? Eso es equilibrio, ¿verdad? Si se forman a la misma, ¿verdad? A la misma cantidad. Okay? Thank you, Alondra. That is what we call equilibrium, okay? Porque está balanceada, okay? It's balanced, okay? Any questions about these terms? Estamos. So number 5, we got exothermic, okay? We're gonna see that in a couple of seconds. So in number 5, we got the activation energy, okay? That's the activation energy that we're gonna use. Remember, activation energy is what? Who can tell me? What is activation? ¿Cómo? Realmente activation energy is the energy needed to start a chemical reaction, okay? Estamos, Elian. Esa es la definición, ¿verdad? Más clara, okay? So when we talk about exothermic, we said that more energy is released than absorbed. ¿Se acuerda que lo habíamos dicho? Exo means that it's going out. So in exothermic reactions, we got that more energy is being released than absorbed, okay? Esa es la diferencia entre exothermic y endothermic. In exothermic, more energy is being released than what the energy is being absorbed, okay? So energy usually release heat, ¿verdad? Eso tiene sentido, ¿verdad? Si estamos, ¿verdad? Releasing energy, it's going to be in the form of heat and or light, okay? So another thing that we can say about exothermic is that it has a higher bond energy than products, okay? The reactants, in this case, the reactants have higher energy, higher bond energy than the products, okay? Aquí vemos ver que la energía, ¿verdad? Lo ve aquí, is higher. High bond energy, okay? So it's going to be a higher bond energy than the products, okay? Dudas, preguntas de exothermic. Okay? And number 4, no lo dije, ¿verdad? Pues aquí obviamente van los reactants, okay? You can write it with a capital letter R, that means that is the reactant. Okay? And number 7, pues sería ¿qué sería number? La C no la dije, ¿verdad? Total energy release. Sería la energía, ¿verdad? Que se va a perder o se me olvidó decirlo en español. Total energy release. La energía liberada. Okay? Total energy release. Okay? And number 7 is, well, the products. Okay? Dudas, preguntas de exothermic. Bien importante que sepamos que more energy is going to be released than what is going to be absorbed. So by saying this or reviewing this, what can we say about endothermic? ¿Quién me dice rapidito? Endothermic, what is the difference then? Exacto, thank you. So, en este caso, ¿verdad? The products have higher bond energy than reactants. Vamos a escribirlo. The products, voy a escribir pro, y usted sabe, no escribir product, okay? Have higher bond energy than reactants, okay? Hasta ahí estamos. Okay, have higher bond energy than reactants in this case. Voy a decirle ahora que cada partecita, no escribe esto rápido. Have higher bond energy than reactants. Okay? Than the reactants. A diferencia de exothermic, que los reactants have higher bond energy than products. Okay? Aquí es al revés. Recuerden, es al revés. Higher bond energy than reactants. Okay? Okay, so number 8, ¿verdad? El número 8 de nuevo, we got the products. Sorry, we got the reactants. Okay. Okay. En el 11, no he dicho todavía, sorry. El 9, activation energy, Valeria. Okay, activation energy. Okay. Están conmigo, ¿verdad? Ya estamos casi. Okay, activation energy. Okay. El 11, pues son los productos, mi gente. Activation energy, products, and reactant. Okay. Perdonen mi letra, I'm so sorry. Ningún lápiz de esto es fácil de escribir. Okay. So we got everything answered. ¿Alguna pregunta de, verdad? Estamos repasando rápidamente. Usted debe de leer, ¿verdad? Aunque usted la leyó, me imagino. Okay. Any questions about chemical reactions? Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk today, antes de repasar la lista, is answer the section 4 quiz, que no, ¿verdad? Que no vimos en clase, ¿verdad? Yo no lo di ¿verdad? Para no volverlos locos hoy. Okay. So let's answer it and pasamos lista y nos vamos. Okay. So vamos a leerla, voy a leerla yo y ustedes me ayudan ya mismo. Okay. The first one said chemical reaction, ¿verdad? Debe de tirarle fotos o hacer algo con esto. Okay. Chemical reaction change substance into different substance by. So the answer here, vamos a ver cuáles son las respuestas. Conserving matter between the substance, breaking and forming chemical bonds, straightening electrical charges of substance, or changing a solvent into a salt. Okay. The answer, ¿cómo? Este es el quiz de la sección 2.4. Sí, es que no los voy a dar, yo lo dije al principio. Es la B, exacto. Breaking and forming chemical bonds. Okay. Perfecto. Exacto. Estamos, vale. Y el martes discuto el de la 2.5, ¿ok? Vale. Para que, porque realmente tenemos bastantes puntos. Te lo aseguro, tenemos un montón de puntos. Usted ha visto cómo está College One. Okay. So the second one, who can read it very quick? Okay, ¿cuáles son? Ajá. ¿Cuáles serían los? ¿Cuál sería Grecia? Sería la letra A, ¿verdad? Los reactivos están ¿dónde? A la izquierda, ¿verdad? Okay, so it's letter A. Eso es bien fácil. If I will tell you the products, well, the products are 6 carbon, 6 hydrogens, O6 plus 6 oxygen, ¿verdad? Molecules, okay? Okay, rapidito. Number 3, the double arrows tells you that the following reaction is. Lo dijimos ahorita, hace unos segundos. Si tenemos dos flechas, ¿verdad? Flecha a la izquierda, flecha a la derecha. Exacto. Letter C, occurs in both directions, ¿verdad? De izquierda a derecha o de derecha a izquierda. Okay. Number 4, what is the term for the amount of energy that needs to be added for chemical reaction to start? Esa es bien fácil. ¿Quién me dice? ¿Qué es lo que necesitamos? La C. La C, ¿verdad? No, la B, perdón. Activation energy. La energía necesaria para empezar una chemical reaction. Okay? Activation energy. Bond energy es la energía que se necesita para. Exacto. Pero activation energy es para comenzar la reacción. ¿Okay? Bond, un coge bobo. Bond energy es la energía que se necesita o que se, ¿verdad? That is released when a bond is formed, ¿ok? But activation energy, estudiante, es la energía necesaria para comenzar una reacción química, ¿ok? No es lo mismo, ¿ok? Activation energy and bond energy no es lo mismo, son parecidas, ¿ok? Preguntas de eso, ¿ok? And number 5, which phrase best describes an exothermic chemical reaction? Esa está fácil, lo vimos ahora. Exothermic means que pierde, que va a perder o que va a soltar. Exacto, lo dice exit, ¿verdad? Lo dije que esa es la clave. So it releases more energy than it absorbs. ¿Okay? Dudas, preguntas. Ese es básicamente el quiz de hoy. Muy fácil, ¿verdad? No creo que sea muy difícil. Dudas, preguntas.